thinking. You're in my head, and you're trying to improve the power balance. How does that happen? Anybody have any ideas? It's kind of indicated in the case. I mean, as you've seen so far, there's little hints. Anybody have an idea? Anybody? Yeah, we need a mic over here.
That you make them realize that you weren't one of the 1,000 that they can hire because you didn't accept everything they wanted at the first time.
Okay, so I could try to convince them. Were you able to translate that, by the way? So one approach was I could try to convince them that I am not 1 out of 10,000. Maybe I'm 1 out of 9,000 or 8,000, but I'm better than they're thinking. Okay, that's an approach. What else? Anybody have another thought in terms of how I could change the power balance?
Well, I think that you have to show them that you have special abilities or something that make them give you more, paying more, you know? Because if they think that you are a simple man that is not looking a job, they say, oh, well, I can pay the conditions, I'm the enterprise, and I will hire you with my conditions. I think.
Okay, so your view of the negotiation was I should get back together and say, listen, these are all the reasons you should hire me. It's not this imbalance. You know, I'm unique. Okay, and that's a straightforward approach. Let's have one other point from the audience and we'll go on because the case gets more interesting. Okay, you can ask the question in Spanish, and that's okay. Yeah.
Creo que no es necesario decir quién eres ni que eres capaz, pues porque ellos te buscaron y te insistieron, ¿no? Creo que los dos compañeros anteriores remarcaron eso. Yo pienso que no. Tampoco la paga.
Un momento, lo voy a traducir. So he thinks that it's not necessary to tell them, to convince them of who you are because they contacted you, so they must know you.
Yeah, so that really wasn't a possibility. They knew who I was already.
So
you know? Yeah, keep going.
Tampoco el precio, tampoco la garantía de que, bueno, esa sí la puedes ofrecer, la garantía de que no plagies a otra gente, ¿no? Porque eres un ser profesional, vamos.
You don't have to worry about, they don't have to worry about plagiarizing. You won't plagiarize it because you're a professional.
So that they wouldn't have to worry about plagiarizing because I'm a professional, so I could try to pick at every one of the contract details and show them, you know, that it's not an issue. Okay.
Claro, tú lo podías garantizar, no es problema puesto que no lo ibas a hacer. Únicamente yo modificaría el contrato en cuanto a regalías y a derechos y a revisiones. Así lo veo lo fuerte de la negociación.
So what he would negotiate is the royalties and the money that you will be.
Okay, so what you would negotiate is the royalties and the rewards to me, the contract details. Well, that came up in the meeting with Trump University, and they said, we don't pay royalties. There are already 2 books in the series, in the Trump University series. We have a standard contract. We don't have any room to maneuver. No royalties. So you can see how my options were being narrowed down. So what happens? You know, I don't know if you can see this. It's 2 negotiators across a conference table. And so the dog is thumping his tail, thumpa, 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 and against the other negotiator. And the caption is, as a negotiator, the dog had ice in his veins, but his tail betrayed him. So here I was negotiating with Trump University, with their lawyers. Okay, remember win-win negotiation. These are my actual notes. This is in advance of every discussion I had with Trump University. At the top, if you can read this, can you read this in the back of the room? You can't? Okay, what it says is 1, 2, 3, 4. It says, listen before talking, seek to understand first. Make sure Michael, who is my counterpart, understands that I understand what he's saying. Make sure he knows I hear him. Separate the people from the process, use objective criteria. So in other words, I am living the book, getting to yes. Then I had a column over here that says, the Trump points. What's Trump going to talk to me about? Because I don't want to leave it to chance. Remember, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to guarantee success here. And then I had Gordon, me. What I really want is a long-term relationship with Trump University. And then my talking points over the phone. And I went over it in red and ink and green. And so I understood every single meeting over the phone was a negotiation. But nothing was left to chance. We still couldn't reach agreement. I'm a doodler, by the way. How many doodlers in the audience? How many people write? Let me see the doodlers. Good, we're not alone. That's good to know. Anyway, so we get to a point where we're still stuck. And I said to him, let's reach agreement today. What are the remaining issues? And this was the telephone conversation that I was planning in advance. And I'm talking about what's fair, what's, etc. I won't go over the details. But you can see the orchestration, the negotiation was carefully orchestrated. It was not left to chance. And then, I love this model because I teach at Babson. And it's an acronym. When all else fails, when you're in total stalemate, what's your best alternative before shutting off negotiation? You may not like the terms of the contract, but am I really going to walk away from this deal? The key to this case, which is subtle, was like a lightning bolt that hit me. And it was in the timing. They needed this book on a certain timetable. Remember that on January 15th, I made a commitment to write a book, with or without a contract. The apprentice program was coming up for the next season, and they needed a book on entrepreneurship. So I said to him at every single opportunity, when I realized I had a power position in here, it wasn't like this. I kept writing chapter by chapter, having it edited. I'd send them a draft chapter. I'd send them another draft chapter. And I kept telling them, don't worry, Michael. You're going to get a book. You're going to get it when you want it. Don't worry about it. That's the most important thing to him was he couldn't switch at this point. He was getting my chapters. He liked my concepts. He liked my writing, which were highly edited. And so all of a sudden, the power balance totally changed. They had no alternative at that moment in time. They would have the right to, a year or two later, get another author and rewrite a book. But after signing the contract, all of a sudden, because of time, when we signed the contract, it was already April, and they wanted it in May, which I negotiated to June, end of June. They had to have this book. Isn't it interesting? Even when you're facing powerful forces, you can still think about how to gain competitive advantages. Whoops, something happened. I received the contract, FedEx, in the mail on a Friday. I was pretty happy.